Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Jim clicking around.
Okay, well, then we got a real problem then.
Tim, are you back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you had your microphone muted, Tim.
Well, all we could hear was you clicking and typing, so I might have, but
yeah. No,
anyway,
someone listening to the call come in and said no, that we couldn't hear you.
Well, and Heather just came in and told me that. Well, I apologize, and hey, let's just start over. Welcome to the I Must Ask You a Question show. You can tell we've got a lot of questions, and we're going to try to make this sound a lot better. So, bam, take two. All right. So I'm Tim Nichols, and this is
Jim Bardwell, and hopefully everybody can hear me this time. All right. No, it was funny. You know, Tim, it really is on my side of the fence, ladies and gentlemen. I was having lots of technical issues. So Tim thought for sure he was thinking, well, if Jim don't want to talk, I guess I'll get rid of him and something's going on there. But I could see your lips moving, but couldn't hear that voice, Tim. But I'm Jim Bardwell, Fire Protect America. So glad to be here.
Hey, I appreciate it. And Mike Dressel, we appreciate you with your comments and letting us know that there was no audio. And so Yeah, it gets confusing sometimes trying to drive and host at the same time. So I appreciate that. Now, since you couldn't hear me from the start, I'll just recap what I was saying in the first place. Today, our topic is going to be selling hope, right? And so we've got a lot of hope. We've got a lot of people that need to buy some hope right now, right, Jim?
Yeah, including yours truly.
and
No, I'm not
and
that.
and the trick is to find out who's selling it and how to sell it, really.
Right.
So and I'll tell you what, let's just take it a different approach here. So we're talking about selling hope, and let's look at how do you sell hope? What experience do you have with that, Jim?
Well, no, it was very interesting when you sent this by yesterday. Man, I tell you, I just did a big no-no in the modern day world. I just touched my face, not just my face, touched my nose. You're not supposed to do that anymore,
Oh,
right? You remember growing up in the South, boy, I'll tell you, that was a good way to get a swat, right? Quick touching your face. Uh, so what is hope? What is hope? So I thought to myself, well, that's a great topic, but why is it a great topic? It's just one of those words, right? It's one of those words we've heard since we were kids. We've heard, faith, hope, love, charity, right? All these wonderful words. And you think, well, hope is a positive word, right, Tim? You would think you hear the word hope and you want to put that with positivity automatically. But I decided to consult a book, and it's called a dictionary. Now, any of our young listeners listening right now are probably thinking, why, Dick, who? Yeah, there used to be these books. And when Tim and I were in school back a long, long time ago, and we were doing a book report or something, and Mom, how you spell this word? Or what's the meaning of this word? She said, go look it up, right? Remember that, Tim? Go look it up. So in the dictionary, what do they say about hope in a dictionary? A feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. A feeling of expectation and desire for a certain, now that's an important part of that sentence, a certain thing to happen. And so I started thinking about my own life, Tim, and how I use the word hope. And sometimes I use the word hope not necessarily in a positive way, right? Sometimes I use it almost in a position of desperation.
Oh, yeah? How's that?
Well, you've heard people say that before, Tim. Man, I sure hope everything works out okay. Man, I sure hope I get that raise. Man, I sure hope they got some of that coleslaw left by the time the picnic's over because I want to take some home. I mean, we just hope about all kinds of things, right?
Right.
But really, the definition says that we're supposed to be thinking about a certain thing, right? A certain thing to happen. And that's when I really started zoning in about what you were talking about. The way you're using the word hope in a sales and marketing arena, right? A
Right.
sales and marketing arena. So when I present my product, good, or service to a prospect, I'm thinking that, well, I hope that they buy it. I hope that they sign the contract. I hope, right? And as you and I have said many, many times on this call, there's some great people out there that had great philosophies about all this. One of the great things I've heard one time was that the trick is what you need to do is create an idea in someone else's head that what it is that you're hoping for, that the certain outcome that you're thinking you want to happen, they actually want the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, they actually want the same thing. And that they'll do that if they think that's what they want.
That's right. That way you can both be moving in the same direction, right?
Move in the same direction. That's right. That's right. But see, something's going on, especially in modern America. Something's going on today. And I don't care which side of the spectrum you're on, whether you're a conservative or whether you're a liberal, whether you're libertarian, whether you're I don't care, whatever you are, everybody is becoming very, very headstrong, right? Everybody's getting headstrong, no matter where you stand. I ain't budging. I ain't moving. I'm not. No. I'm sticking put. Right. So I don't know about you and your career, Tim, but I've noticed it seems like in the last 4 years, 5 years, It's actually become harder. Sales and marketing has become trickier. Sales and marketing has become, because it's almost as if people now automatically, oh, you're trying to push me that way? Well, I don't want to go that way. I don't want to go that way.
Yep.
Wait a minute, friend. All I pointed out to was the door that was open. You were already going that way. I was just opening the door for you. Oh, no, I've changed my mind. I don't want to go that way. As soon as somebody figures out that you're trying to push them, you're trying to lead them, you're trying to trick them, right? You're trying to get them to go someplace that you want them to go. Well, they ain't going.
Right.
They ain't going. So this philosophy has become even more important today. We have got to make sure that whether it's in our marketing pieces, whether it's in our sales presentation, whether it's in our, just even the way we introduce ourselves, that we don't make people think that we're forcing them a direction that we want to go.
What is it about that makes you think that they callous, that they become defensive? I've got it in my mind, but I want to hear what you think.
Well, that's a really deep conversation, brother. That is something that we could spend hours and hours and hours talking about. But there's this theory. It's a scientific theory that there is individual consciousness, and then there's what's called group consciousness. Have you ever heard of that, Tim? Individual consciousness and group consciousness. And there's all these theories behind it that groups of people, groups of animals, groups of this and that and the other, that there's so many people, individuals have these experiences that it starts affecting the whole. And I think what has happened through our media, through our we are just inundated now. I mean, to a level, Tim, when you and I were young growing up, we didn't turn the television on. If we didn't have radio on, then we were disconnected, man. We were, me and I don't know about you, when I was a kid, we'd go hunting, right? We go way up in the woods. Way far away and nothing. No phone, no TV. The radio wouldn't even hardly work out there. All you could get was AM station at night. That was it, right? And there was no influence at all on us. Nobody was pushing us. Nobody was poking us. Nobody was, dragging us. Nothing was happening. This modern generation, Tim, that from the moment they wake up, the moment they come into consciousness, and they think they're in control of it, but en contraire, mon frere, you get on social media and you are just bombarded with people trying to push you a direction. And so I think what you're seeing is a group consciousness all across the spectrum of people. They just had enough. They don't want to be pushed anymore. They don't want to be they don't want to be told which way to go. They don't want to be told how to think. They don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be told, because we're just getting bombarded with it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? So I think that's what's going on. I think as a collective consciousness, because again, I see it in all generations. I see old people, young people. I see kids. I see people our age. I see, like I said, all the way to the right, all the way to the left. People in the middle. People that really aren't politically. Everybody's the same. My wife and I were just talking about this weekend. Just even in our interaction, we have become less pliable, less malleable, right?
Mm-hmm.
We seem to be more stuck in our belief systems and what we think to be the truth and what we think to be in front of us, right? And so, of course, our clients are going to be in the same position. And Tim, it's gotten much, much, much harder. It's a different ball game than when you and I first started. It really is.
Yeah. Well, and if I can share with you in one word, what I think the difference is independence. They want independence of thought, right? They don't want to be told what to think, how to do it, how to act, what to believe, things like that. They want their independence. And I think the more that independence feels threatened, the more defensive they become.
Mm-hmm.
That's my perception of it. In fact, I mentioned this to you before the show. And my brothers invited me to go to a horse show this weekend, and they were competing as well as some of my nephews. And this was the American Paint Horse Association Ranch Work Championship. Okay, so
Wow.
pretty neat event. In fact, I'd been to horse shows growing up and all that, but I didn't realize it would be this intense actually when we went, and I actually put something out on Facebook Live on it. But in the process of that, I did a video of one of my brothers in his pinning run. And, you know, at first I didn't think that much about it, but I stayed up till about 12:30 a.m. writing notes over what I saw.
Mm.
And I just couldn't stop. And I thought, you know what, this is going to be a blog post, and it's probably going to be a chapter in the book as well. But that fight for independence and what that looks like. And so where you know, me reaching out to you saying, hey, let's talk about selling hope, comes from what I saw in the calves. In fact, I want to run this video and let you see, and let our viewers see what this looks like. So to me, now this is my brother, Reese Nichols. He is a financial advisor with Edward Jones, and his in November will celebrate his 19th year. Now, we grew up in the cattle industry. So a large part of what happens in the cattle and horse cattlemen and horsemanship, things like that, is psychology, crowd psychology, group psychology, behavioral psychology of the rider, the horse, and the cattle. And so what I saw in this were some things that we do. We do as people, we do as a crowd, we do as I don't know, in sales and marketing, we have to look at these things as if we're the rider and maintain as the horse our team. You know, our team would be the horse or our business. So now to lay this out for you, left of screen is an empty pen with a gate that is open, right? And there's probably about 15, 20 calves in here, but each one of them has a different number that is on it. So the white on their back is a different number. So when the horse and rider walk into this small around pen here, the announcer calls out a number, and they have to draw that calf out of the herd and put them in the pen that is left of screen, right? But it hit me what this actually is the rider has to sell the calf that has been chosen for them on the hope of independence. Because you see that white gate behind Reese there, that is the gate that the calves came into the corral from. That's from where they came. And herd psychology says, number one, let's stay together. Number two, let's get back to safety. Right. And so that is the ultimate goal of them. And so I've kind of laid out the rules here. Now, another thing is in this particular competition, the rider is supposed to maintain control of emotions, I would say, within the arena, in that they're not supposed to run or lope. They're not supposed to go above a trot. And so you've got to stay very calm and collected. Keep in mind, the horse can feel even your breathing shifts, things like that. And this is a full body steering competition with the horse. So I'm going to play this. It's only 1 minute and 15 seconds, but I want you to see what happens. And then we'll come back and explain over this. Can you hear that? So Reese is determining which calf is the one that called out. So that's calf 0. They called 0. And he is trying to pin that calf, turn his body towards the gate of independence. right? So he's got to convince that calf there is freedom in that pen. And if he just goes there, he won't have to worry about being chased. So the cool part about that is that calf bought in, right? And Reese wasn't having to act out of control or run the calf or anything like that. And actually, I did a call with Reese earlier, a training call this morning with my team, and he was describing that when he goes into that ring and they called out the number, he was actually thinking in terms of even genetic traits in which of those calves. So there were 2 calves marked 0. And he noticed that this one in particular looked more docile than the other one. And he didn't want to get into a running match with the other one that was a little bit more fiery. And you say, well, how do you know those genetic traits? What does that look like? And he was sharing that he felt like with the white face and the black body, that's actually a crossbreed between Hereford and Angus, both of those being docile breeds. And the other one was a little bit taller, lankier, looked more athletic, and had a little bit longer ear on it, which means it comes from a Brahman breed that they're athletes, and they really will fight for their independence. And so they would jump a wall if they had to, So Reese had to choose one that he felt like he could have a conversation with. And so you could see once he got the calf's body turned towards the gate of what I'm calling independence, it was like, oh, okay. So if I go in here, then I can get what I want. I can get you to not chase me or follow me. And so that was exactly what happened. So when we talk about selling hope, we got to look at this as, in my thoughts, we've got to look at this as independence or the benefit of what we offer as opposed to what we offer. All of us offer products or services, but what does that benefit us? How does that benefit us? And what ultimately does it do for us? Because if it somehow brings independent thought or independence in our doing or being, then we're going to go for that, right? But if you're trying to force it, you're trying to hard sell it, it's not going to go very well. What are your thoughts on that, Jim?
Well, that's, you're just confirming what I was talking about earlier, and I've confirmed what your belief is. We said it in a little different way, but ultimately it boils down to the same thing. I kind of touched on a little bit what I thought the cause was, and you touched on what it is, okay? And that is, just as a species, human beings really don't like being told what to do.
That's right.
Okay? We just don't. I mean, go up to, anybody who's ever had children who will certainly agree with that. They don't like it. I don't like being told what to do. We learn behaviors to, especially going through the military. You went through the Corps, that's the first thing that happened. When you first got there, they had to beat that out of you, right? You got to beat that independence right on out of you, right? I mean, they got some interesting ways to make you forget about your little own thoughts, right? You quit thinking for yourself there, buddy. You start thinking the way I tell you to think, right? That's what the military does. Well, most people today have never been through that. They've never been through that experience, okay? And so, and really the funny thing is, if you think about it for a moment, Tim, it actually is a really good thing. It actually is a really good thing because, that is what makes us uniquely human. We're not robots. We're not easily guided and gullible, and human beings are not that way. That's not how we are created. That's not how we are designed. That's not how we are programmed. Okay? That's not what we are.
Right.
We're not automatrons that just, will do exactly what we're told to do over and over and over again, behave the same way we're supposed to over and over and over again. If that was the case, then human beings would still be living in a little bitty place. No one would have ever left. No one would ever tried anything new. We wouldn't be talking on the internet right now, would we? Well, when the internet's working, we wouldn't be talking on the internet right now, would we? If everybody
Right.
just accepted everything the way it was. So what we have to do as a representative of a product, good, or service is we have to realize that and accept it. Not just accept it, but embrace it and do the hard work. Selling isn't easy.
Especially now.
I can't stand it when someone says, take this course and you can sell easily. No, it's just malarkey. It is not easy. What's easy is if somebody tells you, says, look, if you turn this knob, A will happen. And you sit there and you turn the knob and A happened. Well, that's easy. You've learned that lesson, right? Now you know what happens when you turn that knob.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me tell you what selling's like. So you probably trained some salespeople in your time, Tim. You sit down, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to treat you. You turn this knob and this is what will happen. And the student comes up there and they turn the knob and exactly the opposite happens. And look at you and go, I thought you said, well, that's sales. Okay. Because just because you sold that vacuum cleaner to Mrs. Johnson doesn't mean Mrs. Smith's going to buy that vacuum cleaner on the same way. Nope. Every way is different. Every client's different. Right. And I think if we could understand, again, I love this definition, plain, straightforward, a feeling of expectation or desire for a certain thing to happen. If you can just make sure that that's what you're transferring. You're not transferring, an order. Cadet Nichols, you will do such and such. Yes, sir. I mean, that ain't how it works, right? You're not transferring an order for somebody to do something. You're not transferring a guilt trip on somebody for doing something. You're not transferring, all the sloppy sales ways, right? All them sloppy ones, right? You buy it now or there's a great loss. You're going to lose if you don't buy now, right?
Right.
Hope is a trickier deal. It's just like Monsters, Inc., right? You ever seen that show Monsters, Inc.?
I have.
Making them children cry, that was easy. Boo! And they cried. It was real simple, right? But if they had to work a little harder to make them laugh. But did you notice they got more power out of the laughter than they did the crying?
That's right.
Is it trickier to sell hope? Yes, it's trickier. It's harder. It's heavier lifting. If your brother could jump on that horse and stick them spurs in the side of that thing and just chase after that calf and chase him down and whoop him with a rope and snick, man, he'd have him in that pen just like that, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But that's why they had those rules. You can't do all that. They made it a little harder. So now your brother has to
penalize him
if he does, right? So what does your brother rely? Man, he's got to start psychology. He's got to study his targets, get to know them before he even goes into the arena. You mean to tell me he sat there and studied them two calves and said, well, wait a minute. By the physical characteristics, I'm going, and in my experience, I've been doing this 20 years, that calf's going to be harder than that calf.
Yep.
So as a representative, we got to do the same thing.
Here's something else to consider. This came up in the earlier call with the training call this morning, is they change out the cattle in the pen, but over so many riders.
Oh boy.
And he said that he had noticed that the group ahead of them, a group ahead of this one, they were all high strung and prone to run. And this was a more docile group. And you say, well, what causes that? Well, in the back pens, the ones that are going crazy are all grouped together because they want out. And so they're all just running around together, right? And it's almost like two different gangs form. And because the calm ones are going, hey, I'm okay. I'm just going to sit here.
Guys.
Yeah. And so what happens is they learn. The cowboys are always learning, just like you mentioned. The horse is always learning, and the calves are always learning from experience. So if they see where that gate of independence is, but they don't want to do what it takes to get there, they will fight to get back in the herd. But the thing is, the more that happens, the more repetition occurs, the more they don't want to go towards that gate. But the opposite is true. The ones that find out that there's independence and peace inside of that pen will automatically go there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's learned behavior that they have to rotate the calves for. And of course, Reese was saying that they have to give them water and all that kind of stuff too. That's true. But there is psychology that goes on behind that learning behavior, that they are learning what that game is and how it's played. So if we're in sales or marketing and we've been hitting up the same people for the same product or service over and over again, they've learned what you do and they've learned whether they want it or not. Right. And they're going to do whatever they're going to become more convicted in their belief in whatever it is they want to do. Right. So now Amy Ritlin, she comments, I think that the feeling of independence is also tied into a feeling of being smart. People want to be unique, forward thinkers, and don't want to follow the crowd anymore. I agree completely with that, Amy.
Yes. And isn't it funny, though, that it's funny how a trend to be different will go so far that it becomes normal. In other words, have you noticed right now, everybody is so busy being independent that they've become a group of independent people.
Kind of like those crazy calves that run around together.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And someone says, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to be different. I'm going to wear a crazy curly mustache." Man, I tell you, 5 or 6 years ago when I started this crazy curly mustache, I was only going block had one. I mean, back in the 1800s they had them, but everybody's like, man, I've never seen that before. Man, Tim, I tell you, I walk downtown Boise and I'm surrounded by them. I mean, everybody's got one. I mean, everybody's got a mustache. If you don't have a mustache, you got a beard, or they like you, they got both. Like facial hair used to be unique and different, right? Well, now,
right.
I mean, you go into Walmart, they got a whole section in Walmart.
Really?
Nothing but beard and mustache stuff. And I'm talking fancy dancy waxes and, the fancy accoutrements, a $22 wax, right? Well, I don't know about you, but when it hits the shelves in Walmart, I think that it's jumped the shark, okay? I think that show's jumped the shark at that point, okay? And so
right.
And so this whole independent, I love what Amy put it because she's right. She's exactly right. It's now the cool thing, man. The cool thing is to be independent, not a conformist. I'm a radical, man. I'm out there. Well, if everybody becomes a radical, you watch in a couple of years, man. You know what the real hip thing is? You know what the real man. If you're really avant-garde, if you're really ahead of the curve, you want to be a conformist.
Yeah.
You want to conform. Yeah, it's human nature. We all try and do it. But listen, all of this is great fun. All of this is great. The bottom line is, it is our duty, it is our responsibility as faithful servants to our products and to our goods and to our services to meet the needs of our clients.
That's exactly right.
Okay? Tim, if the way we meet the needs of that client is to communicate in such a way that they realize that they want the same outcome, that they are hoping for the same thing we're hoping for, then that's what we're supposed to do.
Yep.
And if that means communicating in a way that independent thinkers are okay with, great, fantastic. We need to change with the times, man. That shows our commitment to being a good, faithful servant to that client's needs. And those that refuse to do that, those that say, I tell you, I've been selling this stuff for 22. I've been selling insurance for 22 years and I ain't changing. I'm not going to be all this newfangled, independent minded, these young whippersnappers. I'm not adjusting who I am. And I have some very, very friendly advice if you find yourself thinking that way. Get out of the business of representative sales. If you stay in it as long as yesterday was my birthday. I turned 54 years old, man. Woo,
and happy birthday.
How about that, man? I mean, I am getting old. Can you believe 1 year away from double nickels? I mean, I tell you what, I'm 55 years old, man. the bottom line is that in my career, I've had to reinvent, readjust, recalculate, change the way I communicate many times. Many times. Because I look at it from that perspective that it's my duty, my responsibility. If Amy's right, and I think she is, this independent mindset, this, not wanting to be told what to do, and that's the thing today, then we need to make adjustments to that.
Well, and I'll give you another little crowd psychology secret that I learned from livestock management over the years is you have to find those that are truly pursuing independence and thought leadership. And those are the opinion leaders of the herd. And so if you can actually, and this goes towards anybody thinking like this, but Amy, since you commented, if you can find the thought leaders of that independent crowd, right, then that actually becomes a following. So if you can turn them towards your product moving in the same direction of your product or service, others will follow them because they're the thought leaders, right? So with crowd psychology, with herd psychology, if we're working cattle in a large pasture, let's say 300 acres, we know who that thought leader is. We know who that alpha cow is. And we've got to get her moving toward the direction of the pens. And once she starts moving that way, everybody else goes with her. But she's the first one that runs to the back of the field to the woods and tries to hit the creeks. So you actually have to race her to cut her off from the woods on your horse and then turn her around and get her going in the direction you want to go. So that's kind of what you have to do, whether it be in, like Amy's a mortgage lender, whether it be in that lending industry or the real estate agent, insurance agent, financial advisor. If you can capture the thoughts of that thought leader and get them moving in the direction that of your product or your service or how you do things, then they will bring with them a following. It may not be everybody, but it's going to be the people that follow them. And that's why this whole influencer concept on social media has become a thing.
Well, and it's funny, a friend of mine and I were just discussing the difference. So this modern generation, the current generation, the generation that that grew up with these in their hands, okay? The early versions, by the time they were, my daughter is 20 years old. She grew up with this immediate access to information at this level, okay? And we were talking about how, we talked about how our generation, so if they wanted to sell something to me and you, say they wanted to sell a new soft drink, Billy Bob's Poppin' Fizz and brand new cola on the market. Billy Bob's Poppin' Fizz. We're going to go down to Texas and I want to get old Tim to buy some. He's a young whippersnapper driving around out there in his pickup truck. I want to get Tim to buy one. Well, what I would do is whatever demographic that was, okay, I want Tim to buy one. Well, he's a young man in Texas. So I know I'm going to have a commercial with Clint Eastwood dressed up as a cowboy on a horse. And he's going to pick up that Billy Bob Poppin' Fizz. He's going to drink it. Tim's going to buy it. So what they would do back then is they go find some celebrity that had influence, right? And if you could just convince the world that he likes it, so therefore everybody that he influences likes it, right?
Right.
Well, this generation has thrown that on its ear. Have you noticed they don't do celebrity endorsements like they used to? They just don't do that. Now, people you've never heard of, they're just some kid in their basement. Now they're the influencer, right? These social media influencers, they come out of nowhere. They're not anointed by Madison Avenue. By the way, it's driving Madison Avenue crazy because Madison Avenue doesn't know how to make money. What do we do? Think about it. Have you ever seen Lady Gaga do a Coke commercial? No.
Nope.
Nope. You ever seen Katy Perry do a Coke commercial? No. No. Michael Jackson did a Pepsi commercial. See, our generation back then, they did it. And that's because, again, this younger generation, this modern generation, they are not following the same rules and guidelines. I got news for you guys. This generation, 10 years from now, will be buying all your products, goods, and services. They'll be buying mortgages. They'll be buying life insurance policies. They're going to be buying, and they're going to want a place to put their money. My daughter just started her career, and man, she's taken off like, man, a couple of years, she's going to have money to invest, right? And so we have to adapt to that. My daughter has hopes and dreams, just like every other human being on this planet. You're going to have to come up with the modern way, the current way, the viable way of today to convey that hope to her. And it will not be the way it was for you and I, Tim. It just won't. And that doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it different, you know?
Have you, I hate to put you on the spot here, but if I've read this book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And in that, he talks about creating a fan base of your product or service based on why you do it. You know, so we might have talked about this before, but like Steve Jobs created a following in Apple because they wanted to change how the music industry worked, hence the iPod, stuff like that. And then you had, like Walmart under Sam Walton it had a fan base, a following, because they were trying to bring retail of typical items to the rural areas without having to pay the big city prices, but at some point, whenever Steve Jobs died or whenever Sam Walton died, the why went away. And whoever took over wanted the what. They wanted the money that came with it. They didn't care so much about the why.
Right.
And the why was that belief, that hope, that independence, that we're doing something bigger than this. Isn't about money for us. But when it became about money, that's when they lost their fan base.
I tell you, we just last week I was having another conversation with someone about there's a product in our industry that was around for a long time, and I had a great following. I mean, you'd say this product name and people would smile. I mean, people really like this product, Tim. This product was, and you would find people that hadn't been in the industry very long, and you say this product name, they know exactly what you're talking about, right? Had a huge fan base. And it was started by this guy out of his garage, Cinderella story, starts with nothing, starts making this product in his garage, grows it to a multi-million-dollar a year company, and just fantastic, right? Well, he passed away. And his sons took over the business. And you're right. They were completely disconnected from the why. They had no part of the why. The hard work that this man did on his business happened before they were born. They were not witness to it. They were not witness to the garage. When they came on board, they were living in a mansion already. They didn't understand the why. Okay. And so, as you can probably guess where I'm going with this story, within just a few years, I'm talking under a dozen years, this multi-million-dollar company is now bankrupt. Now completely bankrupt. And someone walked in there and just bought the name of the products. Just bought the name. That's the only thing of value they had left. Right? And it's just a classic tale of what you're talking about. When you get disconnected from the why, and it's only about the what. It's only about money. It's just a mechanism of money. You see this in every industry. You see this in every product offering. You see this. What's more important for us and those listening on this call or that'll listen to this call in the future, that happens to us individually too.
Mm-hmm.
We forget why. And we start on the what. When that young person just comes out of school and they just spent 4 years of college and earned their education and then went and took that state test and that federal test, and now they're a stockbroker. They can trade financial products, right? And they're proud, man. There's a lot of hard work to get there, right? And the whole time they were going through school, that's all they talked about. Why are you going through this, Tim? Why are you taking all these hard courses? Why are you taking all these? Man, because I want to be, you know what I mean? You have this goal that you want to do. And then you get into it. And we talked about this last week. It seems even nowadays, people forget the why faster. They jump right onto the what. You know, they go out and the banker loans them a bunch of money. They buy a big old mansion and they buy a brand new Mercedes and they buy their wife a brand new diamond ring and they ain't got but 3 clients. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they put themselves in that position and man, they leave why faster than normal. They leave why faster than you and I did, right? And the only piece of advice I'll give you on that one, watch it. The world can turn, brother. The world can turn, and you can be brought right back to why. Okay, you can find yourself staring why right back in the face one morning, and you know what? That's a good thing because I am most passionate. I am most passionate about my products and services was when I'm in the why. That's where hope lies. Wouldn't you agree? That's where hope is.
That is true.
Hope resides in the why.
Yep.
You'll never sell hope if you're all about the what. If you're all about everyone, that's a dollar sign. She's a dollar sign. He's a dollar sign. He's got a 401k. He's got a retirement program. Head to dollar. That's not selling hope.
Yep. You're exactly right. Well, audience, what questions or comments do you have? Feel free to answer or to comment in the comment section, and we want to hear from you. And anything we can speak into, we'd love to do. And I think we've had a great conversation here, and I think it's so important of what we're talking about, and trying to capture that. And if you're not sure of the actual benefit, the hope, I guess, that your product brings, or the benefit that your product brings, you don't sell products, you don't sell services, you sell that benefit, and you sell that hope for what that benefit does for them. And if you're not sure what that is, please reach out to us, and we can try to help you figure that out, or we can put you in touch with those that can. So we encourage you to take a strong look at that as to what you're doing. But in the meantime, we want you to keep the conversation going in the comments. Even after we're done recording and you're watching a recording of this, please feel free to comment or ask questions, and we can keep this conversation going. Jim, any further thoughts on this?
Well, I don't know about further thoughts, but I do enjoy this topic. When you sent me that text through yesterday, I got on, like I said, did a little research and started digging into it. And man, that's what's so neat about, you and I in these conversations, and those folks that we get to share with these conversations. That's probably one of the best things we can do. And it doesn't matter what product, good, or service you're selling, is to keep looking at things from a fresh set of eyes. If you man, I know all about that. I studied that in college, or I read that book when I was, 10 years ago. There's a book that I read every 5 years, and dag nabbit, Tim, if every 5 years I read it, I see something I didn't see the last time I wrote it. Right?
Yep.
You know what the name of that book is?
What's that?
Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And every time I tell somebody that, they laugh and oh my gosh, Jim, that's like a preschool book for, everybody, people. We wrote that in high school economics. We wrote that. That's just a silly little book. And I said, oh, really? And you know what, Tim? So many times people have told me that. I said, so you read that book? Yeah, I read that book in college. Really? Give me 3 principles from that book. Can't do it.
Yep.
And so I say, you know what? I tell you what, sometimes the best thing we can do is to revisit this. So yeah, I encourage everybody listening, man, look up hope in the dictionary. Well, okay, go Google it. Go Google hope. Okay. And you will find all kinds of neat stuff about it.
And by the way, thank you, Lori Renner, for comment on the show. Glad to have you join us today. And so I am in complete agreement with you, Jim. There's a lot of personal development. In fact, you're probably familiar with who Jim Rohn is. I downloaded to Audible Jim Rohn's like Ultimate Library, of all of his talks and his books and things like that. Took 18 hours to get through. And as soon as I got done with it, I hit the play button to start it again. Because I was like, man, there was so much good that was in this. I couldn't take notes on it. I was actually doing it when I was mowing the yard and driving and things like that. I thought, man, I couldn't take notes fast enough, but a lot of good things there as well. So anyway, I appreciate you listeners joining in with us. I appreciate you commenting, interacting with us. Yeah, Gerald said, hi, that's dedication. Appreciate that, Gerald. And anyway, thank y'all so much for coming. And if you're listening to the recording of this, click on the Learn More button at the bottom of this, because I've got a free webinar for you called Tips for Rapid Business Recovery. And so if your business has struggled, I've got a free webinar for you. Takes about 30 minutes to get through, but it would be very encouraging for you to take a look at. And there's a free book offer inside of that. But we do want you to keep the conversation going in the comments, and join us next Monday at 2:00 Central Standard Time for the I Must Ask You a Question show. Thanks again for joining.
Thanks a lot, everybody. See you next time.